Check 1, 2. Welcome back. I'm the Zim. This is the Zim video. This is the Art Professor's podcast. I do this every week on Fridays, pretty much. Sometimes other days, but mostly on Fridays. I'm the Zim. This is the Zim video. It's on audio only formats as well. I've been an artist my whole life, and I started teaching art as an art professor, I guess you could say 4 years ago. I got my graduate degree at San Diego State University. And a long time before that, I got my undergrad at the University of Washington. And then the last few years, this year I'm teaching at Rochester Institute of Technology. Last year I was at Northwest Missouri State University. And the year before that, I taught a year at San Diego State University, where I went to grad school. So we're just exploring this journey of what it means to be an art professor, what it means to be an artist, what it means to be a human being in our society. This is the second week after the election of the Orange Man, or the inauguration of the Orange Man. So that's playing a big factor in our society right now. As an artist, it should be. We should be the loudest about the injustices that are happening because of the Orange Man. In my philosophy, if you're not being loud about this moment, art is already political. The choice to even be listening to this podcast, you're making a political choice and statement saying, like, I believe this is of value. And our society does not value creativity. They want to suppress creativity. They want to suppress the artists because they know the artists are the ones that are empathetic, that understand what's going on in society and say, hey, there's other ways to approach this besides being oppressive. They don't want that. That's why I believe a few years ago, not long ago, it dawned on me the whole reason that the arts is always the one that gets underfunded the most. It's not because of analytics. It's not because of jobs. It's not because of anything. It's because the artists are the thinkers. The artists are the ones that stir the pot. And so they don't want people stirring the pot. They want people just to be mindless drones walking through life, agreeing with capitalist ideas that are disgusting at this point. If you still think capitalism is a good system, you're not paying attention. Anyways, here we are. I don't know what I have to say today. It's going to probably be a short one. I have a few things written down. First thing I wrote down, so let's check in. Second week, so we're third week of classes. Second week of the Trump Orange Man administration. So we finished off our third week of classes. I have basically 15 weeks total. So what does that leave me? 12 weeks left. I'm counting down for sure. I am honestly hoping, my goal, I'm hoping that I get another job in another state, in another school next year. I don't know if that, I don't know, man. This has been a rough one. As you guys know, it's just, I know it's like, there's an argument to be made that, entering a new environment, sometimes it takes a while to acclimate and to do different things. And I'm not talking about RIT specifically. I'm talking about just Rochester and what's been going on. And just like the apartment I live in is just like, I hate it now that I've been here. And, you've heard me talk about mice. It's really loud outside when it's really loud outside in the warmer weather because the rudeness of people, the lack of consideration, and these motorcycles and ATVs and blasting music constantly on the weekends. It's just obnoxious. It's not well insulated. It's really cold. I'm using a space heater. I can't use the built-in heaters because the landlords didn't patch any holes in anything. So I have to patch up holes, and it's like a fire hazard because it's near the heaters and different things. There's just so many things this year that I'm just like, I want out of here. I want to be gone. I'm almost to the point too that I'm like, I want to just, even if I don't get a job next year, I just want to be like, I'm done. I'm just moving. I'm just going. But I don't, I got to be I don't know what I got to be, but that's where I kind of am at right now. And so my hope, and I don't think it's going to happen. And I hate to be pessimistic, but I've applied to places and nobody's emailed me back with any confirmation. So I doubt any place I've currently applied to wants to hire me. So I'll probably be back at RIT next year because I told them I would be willing to come back. But at this point, my goal is to, and maybe I mentioned this last week, but my goal is to move to another apartment. I was just looking at them a few days ago, what might be out there. I'm thinking if I can get into something for like $1,000. I'm paying basically $800 right now. I think if I paid $1,000, there seems to be some nicer places out there, and I think I can kind of afford that, but not really. Thing I'm avoiding is calling my financial aid due payments that are due coming up, because they say on my thing I owe $700 a month, and I don't know where I have no idea. Like, there's no way I can't even afford $100 a month. So I don't even know how they expect me to afford $700 a month. So yeah, I was really hoping that mine would be one of the ones that got wiped out by Biden, but it's not. I don't know, for whatever reason. Like and now with all the craziness going on with deregulations or whatever, trying to get rid of all the government services, it's like, what's going on with my situation? I have to call them soon. I'll probably call them this month because it's supposed to start in March when I'm supposed to pay things back. I don't know. Just kind of frustrating. And I don't have my car, as you know. My car got stolen. That was a whole nother thing. And I can't afford another one. Like, how am I supposed to? What I was talking to I sat with a student so I took the bus home yesterday, because what I'm starting to do now while it's weather, I'll take an Uber in and take a bus home just to save the money. And the last 2 times I took the bus home this week because of the snow and weather and just taking the bus, the bus drivers are like, just get on, don't pay. And I don't know if it's like what's going on and why if they've decided. I don't know if there's something else going on that I just haven't heard about, but the bus drivers are like, don't pay, just get on. So that's interesting and fine. I mean, it's only $1, so it's like whatever, but still save me $1. So here we are, end of 3rd week, start of the 4th week. I have a couple other things to talk about. What I'm feeling, so all in all though, so at the same time, the school part right now finally feels like I'm feeling settled and I'm feeling good I feel like I've been very transparent about how I teach my classes. I feel like the students should know about what to expect. I feel like we're building a good expectation, a good foundation. The first couple of weeks was kind of weird because we had an event that I told you about, so it kind of threw off the system, the cycle, the flow. But now we're getting into it. Students are starting to work on their projects. I think I'm trying to inspire them to stay ahead of it. Don't wait. Work in the classroom. Really trying to make that an emphasis this semester, because it sucks when it's like, okay, it's the due date, and you can just tell they didn't put any effort into it. It's like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to talk about? How am I supposed to engage with? How am I supposed to give you good feedback? I mean, if you don't do, luckily it's not all, last semester it was kind of, by the end, the work was good, but the checkpoints were really bad. The checkpoints were usually like, why are you not working? So this semester, I want the checkpoints to be a lot better. And I think I'm clearing up my system on how I talk about things. So I think that's helping. But thinking about, school things. So there's this duality I've talked to you about. It's like, I just kind of went on my rant of what's frustrating about my life right now, in a sense. And at the same time, there's this like this awesomeness, this thank God, this is like the best. Like, my schedule right now with working 2 days a week, I'm discovering. So again, this is the first time I've worked this schedule. I'm teaching 3 classes back to back. 11 a.m. is when my first class starts. I'm basically in the classroom until 8 p.m. 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. 11, that's 9 hours in the classroom. But that's just when I'm in the classroom, and I tend to get to class by like 9:30. I like to show up. Because I like to show up, I like to be sitting doing nothing an hour before my class. I know I'm a little weird like that, but it's just, I hate feeling like I'm rushed. And I like that, just sitting to contemplate, to think, to rest. And then I'm like, oh, and then I think, oh, I didn't prep that, so I can prep it real quick. But I'm not feeling frantic in any way whatsoever. So I leave my house like at 9 o'clock. Uber gets me there by 9:30. I kind of get set up. And so by 10 o'clock, I'm kind of settled and just waiting. And then by like, depending on if the classroom is full or not, because sometimes the classroom I teach in, there'll be people in there up to my class, and sometimes they're not. So I check in. If they're not, I go into my classroom like a half hour before I start, get all set up, get my laptop connected, get my music playing, just kind of get set up for the class. If there are people in there, then I just wait until I can get in there, which is up to like 10 minutes before class starts. And that's okay, but I don't prefer it. But the schedule, I'm discovering I really like, because so I'm settling into, I think so far, I could feel it at the first couple of days, and the first couple of days were a little different because I was like talking the whole time, and it's very active, and so I was sort of exhausted by the end of it. But now we're settled into the kind of the flow of the semester, where it's like I talk for like a little bit at the beginning, get the lesson, get the class set up to do their work, and then they're working, and then I'm just kind of supporting them. So it's a lot easier in a sense on me. But I kind of settled into Monday is prep for Tuesday, Wednesday is prep for Thursday. I'm settling like that, where I thought I was going to make art on Monday, and that's not going to happen. I'm just prep, and then I play some video games, I do different things, but I like this prep on Monday for Tuesday, prep on Wednesday for Thursday. I like that. And then Friday is like Friday through kind of Monday. It's like this 4-day weekend every weekend, and it's like so good. So I could see myself requesting this schedule. The only part that I don't like about it, well, right now, one of the parts I don't like about it is that I'm not just on campus as much. So, so right now my schedule is just packed. So there's not like a space when I'm on campus on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's just full of me in the classroom. So there's not a lot of space for me to visit with other professors or do this random stuff. So when I only have one class one day, like I could be on campus, my office hours could be stretched out in a little different way. I can kind of like go visit other professors or other people, go schedule with students in a different manner. Like my independent study I have, we're meeting on Zoom mostly because I don't, it's a burden to go in without a car and, all that stuff. So yeah, maybe if I had a car, I would. So this is what I'm thinking. Like, I'm thinking by the spring when it warms up, I'm going to change my schedule a little bit. And if I have this schedule again, I want to, and this is what I tried to do at Northwest Missouri, and it sort of worked, but it also worked better because of how my office hours work. But I wanted to set up, like, so my classes are whenever they are, and I want to do like a 3-hour block of time that's like my office hours essentially, but I'm in one of the studio spaces, and I like buy pizza or something, and I'm like, this is like let's work together. Like whatever class you're in, even if you're not in one of my classes, come to this time and hang out, and let's make art and be in community, and I'll be there to support you and guide you in your assignments. But it's kind of like this extension of the classroom. And I was thinking about trying to do that on Fridays. Just go into campus and just say, hey, I'm going to be here from noon to 3. I'm going to order a pizza. First people that come and want some pizza can have some. You can just come in and hang out. You can come work on projects. You can come ask questions. But I don't know. I want to do that, and I want to incorporate that into my kind of way of thinking about how I'm a teaching in these environments. So, yeah. So I mean, the schedule I like. So and the most I'll keep reporting back because as the semester goes on, but I actually like it. And then what I found too is I'm not as tired as, I don't know. I take the bus home, I get home and I'm like, because I know I have the next day off, I don't feel pressured to prep anything that night for the next day, and then so I just play video games or whatever I want to do or watch some movies, and then I get up casually the next day, start my prep for whatever I need to prep for, and so anyways, think about it. If you're teaching, obviously this is my hope. This is eventually going to be a resource for more people as well as just a documentation on my journey. But think about if you get the option to schedule your classes that 2 days a week, like if you have 3 classes, that's pretty awesome, pretty cool. I'm liking it so far. So anyways, we'll check in. It's first semester I've done it, so we'll check in at the end or as we go. One of the things I just said kind of plays into, it's hard. So for me, I run with a pretty high level of anxiety. I want to do my best. I want to, I don't want to be, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to be the problem, right? I want to try and I want to do my best and I want to, I don't know, seek perfection in some way with what I'm doing with my teaching and other things. And at the same time, I have to remind myself to not stress. Just kind of go like, whatever happens. And I forget that a lot of times and I get worked up and it's hard to let go of that sometimes. And so one of the things I wrote down was don't over stress with whatever it is. It's like, again, going back to teaching, right? I've been thinking a lot about like the idea of what would cause me to lose my job in a sense, especially with what's happening in society and how much I'm allowed to talk about politics or not. Things like that, especially, right now it's like, what would I say or do if I wanted to put a sign on my door, stating something kind of in a political way or whatever, or what would I say? What could get me fired for my viewpoint, right? Or something. So I'm kind of trying to let go of these concepts. But when you think about it, from my point of view, school, because of how it worked, like it would be like you would have to do something just insanely egregious to get fired. Like during the semester, like you would have to be something, something inappropriate or something crazy, something bad. And even that isn't always the case. There are times, depending on who you are, privilege of different kinds, that you can be whatever and not get fired. But because from my perspective, it's a massive burden to replace you, especially mid class, and deal with that. And what are they going to give the student? So this idea of stressing out about something is not as potentially stressful as you may perceive it to be, because it's like, what are they going to do? What are they going to do if you're not perfect? You have to go through your evaluations or whatever. They may call you in and say, we want to review your classes, or I don't know. They may do something that's potentially anxiety inducing, but that's a long way off from just getting like fired or something. So the amount of stress that you might hold on to is probably lower than it needs to be. It's like you could probably go like, oh, whatever, and I need to do that sometimes. I need to actually tell myself like, well, whatever. I'm very like bipolar in a sense when it comes to those ideas. Like I have a hard time with the gray. I have a hard time with the middle. And so I get very extreme, my thought processes, and that's kind of, they get very extreme. They get very worst case scenario and things. So in order for me to get out of that worst case scenario, I got to go the complete opposite a lot of times and just be like, whatever. Just kind of just like, if you don't like it, tough, if you don't like it, tough. But, so that's something I've been thinking about this week in my practice as a professional educator, just try not to stress. Try not to let it stress you out. But of course, it's that balance. It's very much the same as what students need to achieve when it comes to their work. Their work's not going to be the best they've ever done. It's just not. So you got to find that balance of putting as much effort as you can into it when at the same time you realize it's not going to be the best thing you've ever done. So sometimes if you know it's not going to be great, you stop putting effort into it. And so you just got to, So it's the same way with teaching and stuff. It's like put 100% into it, but don't get attached to it. I mean, the analogies and it's the same as art, just in general. As the best artists don't be attached to your artwork. Just like you should be willing to like make the best thing you've ever made and burn it, after you're done, because it's like, I'll just do it again or whatever. I'll just do more. So one of the things that's come up, I should have mentioned this last week, but I kind of forgot. I mean, there's a lot that happened last week that I forgot about when I was updating. Last week's was pretty long and everything. So this idea, I've been talking to my students. Oh, one thing before we get into this, I'm going to jump back 1 second real quick. So one of the things I did say to my students this week, at the beginning of every class, I do my meditations. We'd breathe a little bit, and I just took a moment to talk to all my students and told them that I am feeling the impact of our government and what they're doing, the president and what's happening. And I didn't say it in these terms, but I think it was sort of applied. But I basically was like, there's something happening. I feel it. It's affecting me. And if it's affecting you, that's perfectly okay. And if you need to take more time on an assignment, if it's affecting you in such a way that it's affecting your ability to, be, able to do the work in the class and those things, then that's okay. And for me, it was just important to bring it up because I feel there is a lack of acknowledgement from our community with what's happening in our society right now. Too many people, and maybe it's privilege, and not enough people understand their privilege, and so they're not looking out for the greater community enough. But it just feels like it feels like too many people are just oblivious in a sense. And I just feel like that we need to be louder as a community, or at least acknowledge it and go like, stuff is messed up right now. And, we need to, just acknowledge it. And so that was my point. I wanted to acknowledge it in the classroom. I wanted to say, yes, there is something going on that's not normal or whatever. That is messed up. I won't even say not normal. It's just like there's something in our society with our government that's happening that's messed up. And I wanted to acknowledge it. And so I took that moment in the class to do that. And I think, I got some head nods and I got some sighs and I think they understood what I was trying to accomplish. One of the things that came up last week, which I was about to talk about, was you've been hearing me say for a long time, I think now, ever since I started this podcast, basically, I think the way art education, college level, university, college level art education is taught is broken. I think we are not teaching it in a 2025 way. And one of those main points of it that's lacking is the acknowledgement of how art has expanded in society and what makes art now. And we are not acknowledging the performance social practice aspect. There's this whole part of art, this conceptual part, that's not being acknowledged to the degree that it should be. And I have second, third, and fourth year students. And not all of them, I'm going to say all of them, when I say the type of artwork that I make, and I said in my opening lecture, I was like, I want to be I am the social practice artist. And I'm like, has anybody know the term social practice? None of them. They're over a year into their, and more, second, third, and fourth year students, none of them have heard the idea of social practice. And that is fucked up. That is proof that our system of teaching artists is behind where it needs to be in 2025. So, anyways, that got me ramped up. But so I mean, I it's just dumb to me. It's just stupid that these, I don't know. And I don't know, these artists, these schools, it's the system is broken. The system on what it means and how to teach artists is broken, in my opinion. And I've talked a lot about what I think. I mean, just as simple as making that conversation something that's brought up earlier and an investigation on it. So all students know that there's these other ways of expressing art. You know, there's too much emphasis on, can I draw a straight line? Can I shade a sphere? And that's all important too. But, you know, the artists that care will gain that knowledge because they're trying to do it. They're listening to their professors. They're doing those things. But we need to expose them to things they are unaware of and grow their knowledge, not just the same old stuff. So one of the things, so this, obviously, this podcast is a little bit, I mean, this first part is, I mean, it's all been sort of related to so normally I structure this podcast, I'm trying to structure this podcast as like the first section's about really connected to the art professor part, which I've been there. I feel like we're there. The second part is usually about my art practice. And then the third part is usually about sort of life stuff. So we're still on track, I guess. I'm just going to switch my bullet points here. The next thing I'm going to bring up is if you are so this is what I've discovered. So this semester's been great for me in a lot of ways because of what I've told you. This is the first time I've been able to teach the same classes, and only, like, all my classes are repeats. I don't have any new preps. So I'm teaching what I taught last semester again, and I'm able to elevate. And I mentioned last week, I think I said, you don't know what you, basically that idea of you don't know what you don't know, or you don't know what you don't have capacity for until you have the capacity. You're like, I didn't even recognize that I wasn't addressing this idea because I was just full with everything else that I was trying to get organized and do. So then as those things become easier, you're like, oh, now I can focus on that idea, which I should have focused on before, but I didn't even know because I was just too full of other things. So along those kind of lines, as well is the idea of, I wrote down here, if you are doing it right, you will learn more as you go. I mean, that seems kind of obvious, but the context for that for me is what I've noticed. So when I started my graduate school experience, I was really intimidated by the idea of not knowing a lot of the names. Like, I didn't know a lot of the artists out in the art world and the names of artists, that especially contemporary ones, but even the more like, you know, canon artists of back, you know, the old white people artists, you know, knowing who drew what and who were those artists. So, you know, I felt intimidated by just not having that knowledge. But now that I'm 4 years deep into teaching, you just start to remember things. You start to remember those names that are important and those kind of things. And one of the cool things that's coming up for me now is I'm able to look at my students' work and quickly recall a name of an artist that I can reference and share with them and go like, oh, you need to look at this artist because your work that you're doing right now is very much like that artist that does that already or has been doing that work. And I love that. That's such a cool experience. So it's just this recognition is, making sure that you're, I'm reading articles. I'm trying to keep that knowledge building. And my path, in a sense, I already know, based on my experience of what art school is, I want to teach graduate students. I mean, undergrad is, I want to teach higher thinking. Undergrad and the way it's built right now, it just feels a lot like high school. And I'm not honestly that interested in that level of conversation. I want to teach the graduate students or teach undergrads in an environment that we push concepts more and not just spend time just on techniques and those things. It's like, I mean, the art school that I, if I could create the ideal art school and the ideal art student, it's about concept. It's heavily invested in concepts with professors that know how to teach techniques. So you know how to teach it. You know how to help your students discover techniques. You know how to guide them through techniques, but you're not basing your classes on techniques. You're like, all right, here's a little to get you started. The rest of it is on YouTube, basically. The rest of it is easy for you to find out. Now go find out. But what we're going to spend our time on is why you're making the artwork, what the themes you want to work with, the everything else outside of the actual putting the thing together. And obviously we've said this many times, maybe there are certain classes that are a little bit heavier in those ways. Like I could see like a wood shop, you really got to spend a lot of time on safety. So that's a thing. But for 2D work, you don't need to anything two-dimensional, anything not that doesn't have a safety concern as much. Painting, graphic design, illustration, drawing, printmaking, even there's elements there. Get them, essentially get them started, but let them discover on their own as well and ask you the questions they need. I don't know. There's an argument of it, obviously, as I think about it. There are elements like that need it, but especially in the two-dimensional world, you don't need to teach a lot of technique. They should be learning that on their own. They should be finding it out, I feel like. Or at least finding a better hybrid of, okay, we want to talk about why you're making work, not just is your gradient look good? Is your tonal values there? I mean, just keep talking about those things through critique and stuff, but don't put let's make sure this actually says something in a way, or really, I don't know. There's just so much to think about. Make sure you're being expressive. I guess that's going back to what's important to me. Make sure you're feeling like you are motivated to do the work because and then guide them through how to make their expression better. If they're lacking in value, if they're lacking in emphasis, if they're lacking in shape, if they're lacking in form, if they're lacking in reference, then you go, okay, you need to add this more to your work. But let them start from a place of what's they're passionate about versus you need to draw this and, and then do it this way, even if they're like hate the content. So I was trying to say the ideal art school for me would be like students that are motivated, that want to do it, that's based on sort of more of a concept. You're approaching it more from a conceptual level than a techniques level, than a commercial level. Yeah. I think I lost my train of thought a little bit there. And then professors that teach that way, but also have a fountain, aren't all one-sided. Like, it's not just hands-off, just all theory. There's still a physical, visceral element to it, but there's a interplay happening. But yeah, I want to teach grad students, basically. I want to teach grad students. So I'm building up, hopefully by the time I get the opportunity to do that, because one of the things, again, going back to one of the things I was worried about the most, in a sense, is like when I was taking my graduate school classes. We had these seminar classes where we just sat and read articles. And so, the professor, had those articles, and I'm like, oh, I need to build up my articles. I need to build up my bank, of articles. I don't know. This is a little random. I feel like I keep forgetting. I keep losing my train of thought. So anyways, just if you're doing it right, you'll learn more as you go, and you should, try to basically learn more as you go and share that knowledge, right? Look for opportunities to share that knowledge and build on top of it. All right. Kind of transitioning into my personal practice a little bit. Yeah, we'll do this. Okay, that item, I don't even need to tell you this, but I have this one item I'm going to wait till the very end to talk about. Let's see here. I'll move it down on my list. Okay, next up, motivation for work. So within this is kind of a hybrid of personal life stuff and my practice. So the last few weeks, you've seen this thing on the back wall, which I haven't done anything with partly because motivation, partly because it's just been, okay, I have this idea I really want to do. I like it, but it's not clicking. It's not there for me yet. So I'm like, and when I think about things, when I make art, oftentimes it's just like the idea hits, and I'm like, that's the one, and I'm in that space now. So I have something I'm going to be doing this weekend when I'm making a piece based on, thinking about what's happening in our society, and that idea that Desmond Tutu quote, I'm going to quote it not verbatim, but it's essentially, if you're silent in the face of oppression, you side with the oppressors. I'm going to put that quote on a portrait of Desmond Tutu. I'm going to play with some silver leaf that I have. And then I'm going to do it'll be the 18 by 24 size. I'm going to do a couple of them, and I want to hang it on the door of my classroom, my office, because I want to be more visible about where I stand without it being political. It's just it's moral. It's and I want my students to know, I want people to know that, I want to be loud about these ideas. I want to be, and it kind of was thinking, I was watching someone on TikTok the other day saying I was starting to feel sort of hopeless about things and getting depressed and feeling like I didn't have, what am I supposed to do? And then they reminded me what I'm supposed to do is what I've been doing. Make art. Just make art. Keep making art and sharing them. And even if, I don't know, a few people will see it, at least, it may not be seen by hundreds and thousands, and it may not move the needle, but at least I know I'm trying to do something to make people think, to make the world a better place, to keep amplifying these ideas that are important. And so it kind of got me because I just wasn't, having it. I wasn't making as much art. And so hopefully now, and I have a few ideas. So I'm going to repurpose this piece, this one in the back wall. I'm not going to tell you yet what I'm going to do, but you might be able to see it. There is a pencil sketch of what I was going to do on it, but I'm going to just draw over it or erase it or whatever, and use that paper to do this other piece that I think I'm much more motivated to do right now. So look out, maybe by next weekend I'll be working on that one. But this weekend, Sunday, going back to the schedule a little bit I was talking about earlier, I think Sundays are going to be my art day. I think that's so Fridays and Saturdays gaming, Sunday's going to be art streams. And then probably other times too. Mondays is kind of prep day for classes, Tuesday is class, Wednesday prep day for class, Thursday is class. Monday and Wednesday as well. I'll probably game at night for a couple hours, do my streaming. My audience is growing. Thankfully my audience is still growing, slow at times, faster at other times, but we are currently, let's look at subscriber count on YouTube is 8,114. So, and it says I've gotten 353 subscribers in the last 30 days. So, and that's been holding out that 300 level subscriber count's been holding out for the last, couple months. So, maybe we'll get to 10,000 before too long, which is a goal of mine to hit. So we'll keep it going on. So look out for some artwork. If you want to come back on Sunday and watch me make some artwork, then please do. I'm excited to do it. So yeah, we'll see you on the live stream on Sunday. All right. Another thing, so a couple of things. Last two things I think I have to mention is, so today's January 31st, last day of January. Tomorrow, I'll be officially February 1st, I will be officially taking Meta apps off of my phone. So you've heard me say last week, I made my accounts private. I've been putting, messages out saying what I'm planning to do. So I'll put a message out saying, this is where you can find me. Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok. Please consider following along and, supporting that. And I'll explain the whole thing. So tomorrow, that's going to be a Saturday morning. I'll get up and focus on setting that. And then I'll leave that up on my account for a month, my Meta accounts, Facebook, Instagram. And then on March 1st, I'm completely removing my presence from those platforms. So hopefully, and it's the hardest part, the bummerest part is, my students, people I've met. Instagram has been a pretty, there's not a lot of regular communication that happens, but it's just a place people find me, and I found them sort of, or more they find me in a sense, that are people I've met in real life. So that's going to, hopefully I'll get some of them to move over to Blue Sky or something, but, whatever. It's honestly not as big a deal as it kind of feels like it. It's like that fear of missing out, FOMO. There's more, it's sort of like a FOMO feeling, but I cannot, as you know, I cannot support fascism and Nazis, and Zuckerberg and Musk and all them are sitting at the same table and they're being disgusting. So I don't want to be at that table. So we'll see what happens going down the line. So this update there. The last thing we'll talk about is the thing on here. It says, people have been saying lately a lot. They've been saying it's, there's this idea of left versus right, that the people in power are trying to make us fight against each other, these ideology, ideas. And so there's been this movement, especially after the healthcare CEO situation, the Luigi Mangione thing that happened, where this class consciousness started to appear, and people are saying, well, it's not left versus right, it's up versus down, and which is true as well. And I believe it's actually up versus down and left versus right. I think it's an end situation, because the right is fucked. The right is fucked. So yes, we are fighting against the right ideology, and we are fighting against the oligarchs and oppressors and the authoritarians. So it's a yes and. So I guess the reminder or the idea is, don't swing the pendulum and forget that just because somebody is poor as well as you or whatever, or in your same social economic class, doesn't mean they deserve to be supported because they're fucking racist or they're whatever they might be. So realize that it's like left and down. If I was thinking about it in terms of those role playing, when you choose your character and you have like neutral good and whatever the things are, and chaotic good or chaotic bad or neutral bad or bad whatever. I forget the terms they use, but it's kind of like that. Left down is the ideal place, is where the righteousness is where the left middle down is where the non-insanity exists. So hopefully we get some support from the left up, but the right up and down is just messed up all the way across the board. All right, friends, I think we did it again. As per usual, thinking I wouldn't have a lot to say, but here we are, 45 minutes deep into this party, and it's works out. All right. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. Hopefully we'll get some of you to, hopefully this podcast will go viral and we'll get a lot more support. My hope, I don't know, I'm praying every day that my content does something significant so it'll make me more money. There's this one content creator I heard, she was a woman that was attractive, so that was an aspect of it too, but like doing videos, not well edited, nothing like that. Just, talking little vloggy stuff, watching their channel, start nothing. And then all of a sudden it popped and they made like tens of thousands of dollars, up to $100,000 in a really short span of time on YouTube because of, just a flow of people found their content. And they were talking about how they just kind of blew that money. They didn't even weren't even wise about it. And it's like, man, I could really use that. Like somehow my content, just something finally pops. It finally gets found. And like hundreds of thousands of people watch it so that, I make like 20, 40, 80, 100 grand in a really short amount of time and pay off some bills and get back to even. And even if it kind of goes away again back to where we're at today, at least it's like, I don't know, hell, it got me even. That's the biggest thing, man. I guess when people ask me if I have regrets, which comes up sometimes when I'm live streaming and stuff, and I try not to have regrets, but I guess that my biggest regret is getting in debt. I don't know, somehow getting behind and just being like, God, not having any savings. But I wasn't really trained to. My parents didn't know how to train me to be financially mature. So, and understand how to do that and navigate that world. And I don't know if I've trained my kids well either. So life is life, right? Life is life. All right, as the saying goes, my friends, be loving, kind, and patient. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the support. And we'll catch up with you again soon. Peace.